right, good morning. It is November the 7th. Another day, another couple lawns. All right, so today we're doing the final cut on our storage facility account, and we're doing a final cut on one of my residentials. And we're also going to plant a couple of loropetalums. Nothing too exciting, but that's what we're doing. Two pretty decent sized properties to mow. Couple plants to plant. I don't know how much leaf action there's going to be on those, but here's the deal. Next week is the week that I had planned to start leaf cleanups, and I think that is going to be a perfect timing situation because we get our first frost, our first little cold front this weekend. Today's Friday. It's supposed to rain tonight. It's supposed to rain Saturday. It's supposed to rain Sunday. And Monday morning is our cold front. And that means the leaves are going to start falling for real. And the reason I say for real, in the last 2 weeks, again, remember, it's November 7th. The last 2 weeks, you've probably been seeing guys on here talking about they're doing leaf cleanups. And guys, you're not doing leaves yet, I'm telling you. You got a little bit more material to mulch up, sure, but you're not doing leaves until they fall. And just driving down the street, maybe, I don't know how the lens is set up, but if you look around me, every single tree's got, 80% of its leaves still on it. So you ain't doing leaves yet. And this is one of the things that I've had to, as a solo operator, kind of put in place is I'm not going out every single week and doing a leaf cleanup, especially here in November, because by the time I get done mulching up all these leaves, you get finished. The starting point of the property already covered in leaves again. I really just want to wait, let them all fall. We'll do a big batch next week, for example, and then we'll do a big batch the week before, or a little bit before Thanksgiving, so the yards are cleaned up and nice looking. But there's certain yards on my list where I only do a leaf cleanup once in November and once in December, just because they have so many leaves. And if I'm going to go and spend 4 hours mulching up leaves, I want to do it once. I don't want to do it twice, because if you do weekly or bi-weekly on some of these properties, you're going to be out there for that long every time if you're doing a good job. And that's another thing. You see a lot of these guys doing their mulching of leaves, and then they just leave a ton of stuff like unmulched, It's just not very thorough, and then that won't blow out flower beds and stuff. So I don't know, it's weird, but we always want to try to do a good job and do as not as little as possible, but I guess I don't want to be out there constantly if it's unnecessary, you know what I mean? Because it really stings a customer, and part of the reason why I put in this schedule, it really stings a customer to pay $300 for leaves, and then as you're pulling out, it's already covered in a little dusting of leaves, and then by the time they wake up in the morning, it's like, did it even come? Like, why did I pay $300? You know what I mean? So we have to kind of really be smart with our leaves, because even though it is common sense that leaves are going to continue to fall in the fall, and that this happens every single year, and that there's no amount of explaining that makes people feel okay about spending that money and then seeing the leaves there the next morning, or 2 days later, right? So the money psychology is so much stronger, especially in times like this where everyone's kind of like, what's happening with the economy? Where's things going? What's going to happen? Like, we're going to have a job next week? Or we're going to have, there's no food stamps, there's no SNAP. How are we going to feed our kids? And then here I come, like, oh, it'll be $300 to do leaves, and then they wake up the next morning, there's leaves still. Right? Like the money psychology is so much more powerful than any logic and reality that you can explain to them about, hey, it's fall, leaves are going to fall. That's why the leaves fell last night, right? So yeah, it's a weird thing, man. And here's the deal: it's probably just I say that, but it's probably just me being who I am, and I started a business, and I have a lot of trouble with asking for money, okay, and a lot of money, and it makes it difficult. I don't get confrontational about money. It's like the guy yesterday with the trees, after he agreed to pricing and then said he didn't want to be responsible for the trees the way they were or whatever. I just didn't argue. I was like, just screw it, like just forget the trees, and took a extra $100 loss from that guy, just because I'm not gonna fight you about money. Like, if you want to be greedy with it and stingy, and even though you've got a 3-story house, a big giant ass pool, and all this land, and like you're set, dude, and I'm out here breaking my back on this hillside for 6 hours. Like, if you want to be that way, fine. I'm not gonna argue with someone that stubborn. But yeah, that's just me with money in general. Like, I have a hard time asking for money, and it took me forever to feel right charging a reasonable price for things, because it feels like a lot of money. But then after doing it for so long, you realize, God dang, this is actually, I need to be charging more. Like, it's actually worth it. So anyway, on to this first property. Got all my mowers with me today, just because, again, this warehouse area has a bunch of weird little spots where I'll use a push mower, I'll use the walk behind, I'll use the stander to be a little bit quicker on some of these spots, but a lot of switching out of equipment on this one. Alright, so cut the mowing short a little bit on this one. Unfortunately, the camera angle is just pointed straight down like this the whole time. I've got like 16 minutes of this, and no one wants to see that. Same thing when I trimmed it. I don't know why, but somehow, I don't even know how, somehow I had the camera just pointed straight down like this, which kind of works for trimming, but for the mowing it just definitely didn't. But I did get on this property me mowing the outside hill, which is the real challenge here, because it's just bumpy. There used to be a ton of like really thick saplings and stuff, which makes it difficult even with the walk behind. And you'll see it is sped up footage, but you can tell I'm bouncing around when I get to the top of this hill. It's a rough one, to say the least. I probably won't be doing this property next year. I'm really looking to just chill things out. I don't want to be doing these giant properties anymore, at least not as many. I can do a few, but the thing about it is there's just, when you really get down to it and you're looking at the math and you're looking at the money, dollar per time, smaller properties is where it's at. In my brain, it was kind of nice to
maybe have the chance to, stay at one property longer and make all your money, right? But what it ends up being is like you get into a situation where it rains and your whole week is stressed, and maybe even the next week. And God forbid you have landscaping on schedule too, on top of your mowing. You might have 2 or 3 weeks that are a little bit stressed. And now here's the deal. All that stuff does work out, but it's just after 10 years of doing that and getting lucky, with a few exceptions, of course, and I've been lucky to only have that issue pop up a couple times where the rain really puts a strain on me for like a month. This year, 2025 was one of them. It rained nonstop in August. I think for the first time ever, I had to skip an entire week of mowing because it was just so wet. Even 3 or 4 days after the rain finally stopped, I couldn't mow anything. But check this out. You can see me, if you kind of roll back a minute, you can see me kind of bouncing around, but I'm really like bounce, and it's just flinging. It's because there's giant roots where I cut off, when I did their initial cleanup service, I cut off a bunch of thick overgrowth. This area had not been touched, and they actually wanted me to go further down, but I was just like, the stuff gets too thick, it's been left too long, and you're kind of getting into like almost land clearing at that point. And it's like, I certainly could clear some of that, but I can't put a mower on it. I don't have a skid steer with a mulcher. I don't have the equipment to just do it quickly and efficiently, so I couldn't do that. But here we are on the next one. I didn't show the full service on the other one because I have a whole video of just that property. And that's a good one to check out if you want a little bit of lawn care tips in reality. This one I actually had to come back to. We had something come up right in the middle of it, and it was at the end of the day. So I had to come back twice, which really sucks. And this is another issue with these larger properties. And you'll see, this is a giant property for one person. If something comes up and I have to leave, which again, really doesn't happen, except for it happened ironically in this video. If something comes up and I have to leave, thankfully I live like 2 minutes down the road, but again, it's the winter time. I think it was like 3:30 or something when I had to leave. I could have got this done if I had another 45 minutes, but it's just one of those things. I had to leave, right? So you'll see I came back the next day, and all of these leaves had like refallen. So here I am, I'm doing all this work, not knowing that I'm going to have to leave, and then I come back and all these leaves have fallen again. So I had to go back over it just real quick because there's not as many, but you still have to go back over it because you want to leave it nice the day you leave, right? But yeah, that's another issue with these larger properties, man. If something comes up, if it rains, it just it's really, really difficult to do as a solo a really top-notch job and do it every single time. Thankfully, like I say, me having to leave in the middle of this one was just a one-time thing in the last 10 years. But it's fine, and these customers are fantastic. I love these customers. They're so kind. They're so patient. They're great, you know. And you can see the lawn out here. We actually seeded it with some winter rye a few weeks prior to this video, and that's just something that they like. I usually don't recommend doing winter rye because it actually delays the green up on your warm season turf.
Leaves are blown out. Let's get the walk behind and start mulching. Alright, so one of the things you'll notice as I mulch these things up, and I'll mention this in most videos when you see me doing this, the way that I run this
to mulch is I'll go around in circles on the outside, and then I'll lift my flap when I'm pointing the discharge chute toward the wood line. So it's flap down when it's pointing toward the driveway, it's flap up when it's pointing toward the wood line. And basically what that does is when you're going the way with the flap up, you're pushing the bulk of the debris toward the wood line. When you're going with the flap down, you're mulching most of it. So by the time it all reaches the wood line, you can do what I'm doing here. You can go back and mulch and put your stripes down, and then really spread everything out for one final pass. It's just the way that I've found that it works best, because again, this grass flap is not a mulching kit. It does not turn your lawnmower into a mulcher. To get a true mulching capability out of this thing, you got to put all the additional baffles and all that stuff, and that's true with pretty much any mower. So your grass flap, it really helps. It gives you like a, I would call it like a 5 out of 10 mulching capability, right? Because you can see all the blowout here, all this stuff. Your mulching baffles will actually reduce that to almost nothing, and it traps everything underneath the deck so that it gets chopped up super fine. But doing it this way with the grass flap, you have to go over it multiple times. And truly the sole purpose of the grass flap for me is to just not throw things up against the wall and into flower beds and stuff like that. It makes your mowers a lot more versatile. If you have the if you want to go into the business, this is one of those like non-negotiables, is a chute blocker, grass flap, something that you can open up and close. At least in our area, it's non-negotiable. As far as I'm concerned, it would probably be the grass flap, the combi system, and what else? I'm sure there's a third thing that I could recommend, but at the very least, if you're thinking about getting into business in 2026 or any year, combi system, grass flap, it's just a must, And I would probably say trailer racks, because it really frees up space in your truck bed. But yeah, I like this yard. The ryegrass, love it. It stripes up really well. One of the real issues that I have with this yard that kind of bugs me is that it has so many leaves that, as nice as the ryegrass is to be cutting in the winter, it just leaves stuff everywhere, all the little leaf giblets, right? You really can't get away with that unless you bag. And unfortunately, my very expensive Skag V-Ride with a bagging system has been in the shop forever. I think I had it in this video, but it wouldn't bag all this, not without really having to make a lot of trips to dump. Now, one trick is, if you have a bagging system and you don't want to make 3 or 4 passes, one trick that I have implemented is I will mulch one pass, and then I will do the second pass with the bagger, and you can get most of it. All right, so here we are back the next day, weed eating everything up. I made sure to get everything mowed on day 1. Now we're back to trim. And as you can see, walking around here, all this little dusting of leaves. So all that work wasn't for nothing. This will be quick to clean up, but I justify it by saying, like, I'm weed eating, I've got to blow off the sidewalk anyway. You know what? It's fine. But also, another reason why I'm like totally fine with this situation is these customers are fantastic. They're awesome. They're really patient people. They understood, like, I had to go, I had to get. So anyway, coming around here, just weed eating everything that you see. Nothing super special. I will say edging all of this out is kind of difficult because the way it gets driven on, it like mashes it down, and it's weird. All right, But here we go, changing my line. Went ahead and ran out real good there. But this is one of the few places where I do not like to use the stick edger on because of how wet it stays. You know, their sprinkler system runs pretty much constantly. I know a lot of people would be kind of angry with that, but like, you know, I mean, the yard looks just fine. The edges look just fine. I'm not getting stuck. If I was getting stuck, you know, maybe I would be like, hey, you know, I can't mow here. But I think a lot of people really just need to learn how to adapt better. Because I know a lot of guys would really just get angry. But here's the thing about that. It's your job as the business owner to patiently describe why you need things a certain way and have a discussion with people, you know, and that's just it is basic humanity to just discuss things like conditions and like we've kind of lost that as a species, I guess, where we just kind of assume that everyone's out to get us and we get angry and pissy and we fire our customer. Love that term. That's a good video for later. Firing the customer. But it's your job to explain things kindly and patiently, and there are some people that choose not to understand, but it's nowhere near as common as people pretend like it is on here.
All right, so let's see in the distance how she looks after coming back twice. Look in the very background coming up here, and you should see the yard we just did with the stripes and stuff, hopefully. Welcome to another Lawnside chat. So I may have lied in the last video and said that would be the last one, but here we are on Wednesday the 12th. We got leaf cleanups today, and it didn't really hit me until, you know, sometime last night, like, oh wait, we're doing leaf cleanups. I haven't done any leaf cleanup footage. I took the last 2 days off. Yes, 2 whole days. This is the first 2 days off in probably 3 weeks. Been working every Saturday and Sunday, just all day long, sun up, sun down, and basically just wore out, you know. But now I'm somewhat rested. I could probably sleep another 2 or 3 days, just to be quite frank. Like it is crazy how much you could sleep after doing so much, so constantly. I could have kept going, absolutely, but you don't really realize how wore out you actually are. You know, I mean, my hand issue, I'm still having it. Like, it's an on and off. Like, some days it hurts a lot, some days I don't feel it. Like today I would give it like a 3. Yesterday it was like a 7 or 8 on the pain scale, right? So I don't know. I really hope I haven't caused long-term damage by just not letting it heal up. But again, these are the things, right, that no one talks about. This is a physical job, and we're getting older as we do it. A lot of people act and behave as if they're going to just start up and be a, you know, $100,000+ company and have all these employees and go crazy. But, you know, if you get hurt, or, you know, there's just the fact that it's physically demanding, you know, I feel like people just so undercut the reality of this business, you know. But anywho, today we're doing leaf cleanups. I'm going to try to run by a skag dealer and see if I can find, hopefully they have a belt for the bagging system on the V-Ride. Today I've got the old reliable John Deere 60-inch. Went by the in-laws, picked it up when I dropped little girl off. There's the babysitter, right? And picked up old reliable there, and basically the plan is to do mulching leaf cleanups today, and then come next week we've got one kind of small to medium cleanup and then one big cleanup. Like, I'm still doing cleanups, you know. I got three jobs total. I've got two kind of smallish ones and then one kind of really big one for a solo. And I'm honestly on the fence about even doing that one, just because, I mean, it's basically cleaning out a forest line, right, of the overgrowth, which, if I were on schedule and I got done a couple weeks ago with all this stuff when the days were a little bit longer and all that, I would absolutely be able to do that one, because I would be sitting around doing nothing right now. But of course, we had that rain of like 4 or 5 days, and then the time shift happened, and it gets dark at 5:30. You've heard me whine about this in the last few videos. It's just been a rough couple weeks, and like I say, working just non-stop to try and stay on top of things has been rough. So I'm on the fence about it, and with my hand issue, like, I'm gonna go clean a forest, like, you know, that's gonna suck. But it's not impossible. It's just, is it worth it? You know, is it worth it? Can I work it? Okay, I'm not. Watch me mow these leaves up. All right, so this is why we want to wait for the second or third week to start our leaf cleanups. Most of the leaves are done. Now, these Bradford pears are still going to be dropping in, I want to say, December. But look at the oak trees. They're all done. See them right there in the distance. And that's part of the reason why I want to wait until the second week of November, because you're going to get different trees falling at different times. Okay, so I could have been here last week and done what you're going to see today, but we had those 2 cold days, yesterday and Monday. And if you remember from that last mow that I did in the last video, because I had to go back because I ran out of time during the day, I had all the leaves cleaned up. We came out the next morning and it looked like I hadn't even been there because the leaves fell. And that's why we want to wait until like the second or third week of November, because you're almost guaranteed to get a real frost, meaning 20-30 degrees ish. I think Monday and Tuesday the low was 25 both days. So that's why we have, you know, mostly bare oak trees and whatever this guy is. I don't know if it's an oak tree or not, but then stuff like your Bradford pears, I want to say they drop come like third week of December or maybe second week of December. So because of the different varieties of trees, you're going to have multiple rounds of leaf cleanups. And then there are those weird communities where the leaves will blow in from other properties, which those you could be out there every daggum day and be doing the same amount of work, right? So it just seems best for me to wait and only do 2 in November, 2 in December, because you're chasing your tail at a certain point, you know. Like in the fall, the grass isn't growing, nothing's growing. You're gonna have leaves. It's part of it, right? So customers that want constant perfection or that want to complain, if I ever have a customer, like if I get one of these new customers, get a leaf cleanup, and they call me the next morning, hey, there's still leaves everywhere, I'm done. I'm not even, I legitimately have immediately canceled customers because they want a leaf cleanup and they call me the next morning. And it's like, no, you saw me out there for 2 hours. You saw me out there for 3 hours. Like,
You saw it, and you understand the fact of nature that leaves fall, and they're going to continue to fall until they're not on the tree anymore. So yeah, you've got to be realistic. But I've got the old deer with me today. I need to clear out the spindles a little bit, and I need to, oh no, I got plenty of fuel, look at that. But what I'm going to do first is I'm going to blow out the leaves from the tree roots, and then I'm just going to straight up mulch it and basically mow over the whole flat area. We're not doing a full mow, so it's literally going to be blow out the leaves from where the mower can't reach, mulch them in place, you know. So we're going to not follow any kind of pattern, but you see all the little sparse leaves out here in the middle and all the thick area. So I'm going to blow it all out, mulch, 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 and then I'm going to do my pattern to get all these little things out here. And part of the reason I'm using the deer today as opposed to using the walk behind or the V-Ride is it's just better, especially when it comes to leaves. It looks like I've got an oil leak. Oh no, I need to check on that immediately. All right, so I do have a little bit of an oil leak on that mower. It's nothing major. It'll be able to be fixed pretty easily, but I want to get the kit to convert that plastic drain plug into the really nice Kawasaki like rubber hose. I haven't had time to do that. Maybe I'll make a video on it, maybe not. Who knows? Can't make a video on everything, Aaron. Oh, but I can. But yeah, here we are. You can see me doing my usual thing. I'm just blowing leaves to a point where I can mow them with the mower. I'm not going like specific to any spot. I'm just getting them away from the houses, away from the tree roots, away from chain link, away from concrete. And when you're going to have to learn some of these yards, a lot of situations you're going to be on like a new yard and maybe they're covered in leaves like this, and you might hit something. That's always the risk on a new yard. That's why you want to charge a little bit of a cleanup fee or a first time sort of initiation fee, right? Just to really cover yourself, because blades are like $100 a set almost at this point. Maybe like $85 for a set of decent blades. So you really got to cover yourself in those points. But yeah, we got all the leaves blown out, and you're going to see Old Reliable here doing its thing. And on a property like this, you're going to notice me, really at first, I'm just going to really hit the bulk piles, which is what you're looking at there. You can see all of this is what I would say is sort of a bulk pile. And then we get into the thinner stuff right here, and you're going to notice I don't go all the way down like I'm making my stripes. I'm just trying to get everything pushed into the center and away from the concrete and all that stuff. And eventually when things are chopped up enough, then I'll go back and do my stripe pattern for that really clean finish. Right now we're just trying to blow everything we can into the centers. And we'll speed it up a little bit. Yep, and then just right here, getting into another little bulk pile. And really just want to do a few passes to chop all this stuff up as small as we can before we go and make our stripe passes. Alright, and so one of the things that I want to point out on this property is this pile up in front of the mower of leaves. And I want to point that out to mention one specific product that you absolutely do not need to buy, which is one of those lawnmower leaf plow attachments. That is the dumbest, biggest waste of money that I have ever seen in my life, because you can see right here on screen, the mower perfectly plows up these leaves. All you got to do is lower your deck. and your mower will do the exact same thing. Now, maybe you don't have as much of a surface area, but you really don't want as much of a surface area. You're going to really burn out your hydros. Those things are getting hot. You're going to put your weight on it, plus all of the weight of those wet leaves, packed leaves, whatever it is. You're going to burn those pumps out way quicker than they should be burnt out. And again, even if none of that matters, even if the pump situation doesn't matter at all, your lawnmower will just do that. Drop it to 2 inches and your lawnmower will just do that for you already. You don't need an attachment to do. It's built in. It comes with that feature, right? This is one of those things that you're gonna hear me talk about a lot in these vlogs coming up, which is people just love to be sold to, and it's really kind of sad to see just everyone falls for all this marketing, all this random stuff that you just really don't need. And I even want to do a series testing things that are typically sponsors, but I want to test it and I want to be able to say, is it worth it, is it not, in a definitive way, you know, without having sold my soul, okay, and without having to worry about like, oh no, I better say it just right, or I have to redo my ad read or whatever. Like, I'm gonna buy it, I'm gonna test it, you know, things like the Darwin grip. Is it really what it's made out to be, or is everyone just sold on the hype? Because, you know, before the Darwin grip, it was something like Echo Black Diamond trimmer line. You know, there was months and months and years, like 6 months a couple years ago, where all everyone talked about was Echo Black Diamond trimmer line. And I don't know why. It's fine. It's a good line, but it's not the end all be all. And for the price, you can get so much more trimmer line if you just buy an off brand, and it will do the same thing. And it's like, oh, but it breaks. Yeah, but you get like 6 times the amount of that little spool. It's all marketing. Don't be so gullible for marketing. All right, so there we go. Leaf cleanup done. And yeah, I don't know what shows up on camera, but like there's little bits and pieces left behind. Your first couple leaf cleanups, I'm not going for perfection, because look, I'm telling you, within 2 days, the second half of these leaves are going to fall. Within, you know, a week and a half, 2 weeks, these Bradford pears are going to start to fall. If I sit here for another 3 hours and get every little piece perfectly, you know, it wouldn't be worth it. The very, very last cleanup of the year is the one where I go absolutely crazy, and I'm gonna get every leaf as good as I can, right? This is what I would say is like 95% complete, because like I say, I mean, look, there's still little bits and pieces. It's because the leaves are still falling, you know, like some of these are just falling. Like as I'm standing here, I'm seeing stuff fall. Of course, I can't like whip over and get it on camera, but yeah, leaf cleanup with mulching, no bagging. So it's just as viable as long as you have the equipment that can do it. My V-Ride 2 could never mulch this and make it that clean. Even with mulching blades, even with the mulching kit, it doesn't have the power that the 60-inch does, which I'm glad I kept the 60-inch, because I thought about selling it earlier this year, but
Holy cow, that thing is a godsend.